welcome to the All-Canadian Reptile Girl. I'm Annaliese, and I used to have a tail, but I got scared and it fell off. Most embarrassing roller coaster ride ever. Today we will be learning all about one of my favorite lizard species. Today's creature feature is the adorable Crested Gecko. Crested geckos, like my little buddy Night Monkey here, are a species of small, adorable, arboreal lizards native to New Caledonia, a group of islands in the South Pacific. They are known for their striking appearance with a distinctive crest of spiky-looking skin running down their backs and the sides of their head. And of course, they have these large, super expressive and cute eyes. These wonderful little lizards were first described in 1866. And that was about all there was to say about them for a long time. Aside from the initial discovery and classification, no one saw them again for decades, and they were eventually officially declared extinct. For more than a century, it was thought that these adorable guys were no more, until one day, one of them fell out of a tree and plopped onto the notebook of a researcher in 1994. With their rediscovery, a number of specimens were collected and captive breeding populations were established in Europe and North America. And in the nearly 30 years since they were rediscovered, they have become one of the most commonly kept pet lizards. We'll talk more about that in a minute. In the wild, crested geckos are found in forests and rocky cliffs in a very limited range in New Caledonia, east of Australia. They are found on the southeastern tip of the main island, Grande Terre, and on the teeny Ile de Pin about 50 kilometers off the main island. When I say limited range, I mean limited. Like less than 500 square kilometers. 500 square kilometers is a pretty big area if you need to mow it. But as a range for an entire species, it is absolutely tiny. To put that in perspective, the nearest big city to where I live is London, Ontario, which occupies an area of 420 to 450 square kilometers. The crested gecko's natural range is roughly the size of a city that you can drive across in 20 minutes with good traffic. Sadly, what room they still have is shrinking all of the time due to human encroachment for logging and agriculture, and crested gecko status in the wild is vulnerable. In addition to the habitat loss, rats introduced into the islands by humans prey on the geckos and their eggs. But the biggest threat they're facing currently is the introduction of the electric ant or little fire ant to their habitat. These are tiny ants native to Central and South America that now prey on crested geckos in New Caledonia in stinging and biting swarms. These guys have it rough in the wild. They are primarily nocturnal animals, spending the day hiding in crevices and amongst vegetation, and come out at night to hunt for insects and look for overripened, yummy, rotting fruit. They have a slender, agile build and a long, prehensile tail that they use for balance and grip while climbing, along with their large, adhesive toes, which allows them to easily cling to branches and other surfaces. They are perfectly adapted for an arboreal lifestyle, and they're so cute! Oh my goodness. In the wild, they are typically brown or gray or a kind of a greenish color. They can change the intensity of their color, which is known as firing up or firing down. In captivity though, through selective breeding, we've got an impressive range of colors and variations of patterns for you to choose from if you are looking for an awesome pet. Boop. And I do mean awesome pets. Crested geckos make great pets for any type of keeper and have become increasingly popular in recent years. But with their generally docile nature, as you can see, and ease of care, they are an exceptionally good choice for someone looking for their first reptile. Crested geckos have a lifespan of 10 to 15 years with proper care. This is not a care guide though, so I won't go into huge detail, but high level. They will need an enclosure that has adequate height and climbing enrichment, access to water and food, and they definitely need lots of hiding places for them to feel safe and secure. I've got a video on some bioactive cresty enclosures coming in a few weeks, so make sure you sub and hit that notification bell so you know when that comes out. Depending on how cool you keep your home, they usually don't need a heat light or heat emitters. They're just fine at room temperature. In fact, extended time at temperatures above 29 degrees Celsius, or 85 degrees Fahrenheit for my American friends, can cause them to fatally overheat. There are more and more studies that indicate that they benefit from UVB. While not completely necessary for their health, I do recommend that you provide both UVA and UVB for them. Feeding is super easy. Crested geckos do really well on powdered food diets. Mix it up with some water and make this goop. Yum. Many enjoy feeder insects too, but not always. I have had Night Monkey for more than 3 years and she has yet to show any interest in any insects I've offered. But that's okay, we put some ground up insects in her food sometimes. Shh, don't tell her. While crested geckos make amazing pets, they can be flighty and prone to leaping without much thought of a safe landing.
What was that?
So be careful of that. They can also drop their tail if it gets pulled on too hard or if they get startled through a process called autotomy. This involves the separation of the tail at a specific joint called the fracture plane, a thin layer of cells called the fracture zone, which is weaker than the surrounding tissue, and with the squeeze of a sphincter muscle at the base of their tail, allows for the tail to break off cleanly and easily. In the wild, they will use this as a defense mechanism. When a crested gecko loses its tail, the tail continues to wriggle, which can distract the predator and allow the gecko to escape and live the rest of his or her gecko-y life as a frog butt gecko. Unlike some other lizards, a dropped tail does not grow back for these guys. In fact, in the wild, it is very rare to find an adult crestie that actually still has its tail. And there are some researchers that suggest dropping their tail might be a natural part of their development. I don't know what studies have been done on this, and as far as I know, this is just a hypothesis, but it goes like this. When cresties are young and small, tails are very helpful. It can support their weight easily. There's a little sticky patch on the tip similar to what's on their little feet. I'll get to their feet in a second. And as they leap about, it provides some additional stability and, of course, it's useful to distract predators. Once. However, when they get bigger and bulkier, that tail may become more of a hindrance than a help, and it's better to just ditch it if they haven't already done so to escape a predator. Kind of an interesting idea, eh? If you're careful with your crestie, it is very possible for them to keep their tail their entire life. But if it happens to drop, it's okay. Don't feel bad, it happens all the time. Even with the most gentle and careful of handling, some individuals are just more prone to dropping their tails than others. A loud noise might be enough for some to yeet their tail, as the kids say. If it does fall off, there shouldn't be much blood, and the breakpoint should heal just on its own. If the tail gets broken off midway, or it's bleeding excessively, or just not healing, or looking infected, then take them to the vet, but generally things will be just fine if they drop their tail. There are a couple of other misconceptions about their tails that we can touch on before we move on. 1, female crested geckos can't breed if they have dropped their tails. I'm not sure how this came to be a thing, but it is 100% false. They can still breed, lay eggs, and produce perfectly healthy little babies that are so cute and small. It's completely not true, it's a myth. The other is that they are super fragile and will drop at the slightest tug, touch, or pressure. Again, not true. As I mentioned, they use this, especially when young, to hold onto and even support themselves from their tail. Night Monkey, would you mind demonstrating? Thank you, sweet girl. I don't go swinging Night Monkey around by the tail. I'm just demonstrating that the tail is capable of supporting their weight. Guys, I don't know your gecko or what their disposition is or tolerance to handling, so don't do this just because you saw someone on YouTube do it. Don't push it. Don't try to make them drop their tails, but it's fine. They're not gonna drop their tail because you touched them. This is not the only trick they have up their sleeve. Wait until I tell you about their feet. But before I do that, I want to introduce you to someone new. Now, my patrons have known about this little lady for some time, and if you're not one of my patrons, please go check out patreon.com/allcanadianreptilegirl to see what perks they get. One of them is that they get to see new animals long before anyone else. My patrons help make all of this possible, and I can't thank them enough. Anyway, to them, this little lady is an old friend. Her name is Zelda, and she is wonderful. Isn't she so pretty and cute? Oh my goodness, she's so sweet. Recently, someone reached out to me asking if I could take this little one, and how could I refuse this face? You might think that she's named after Zelda from the Zelda games, but not quite. I've never actually played any of those games, but the day after we brought her home, we were watching Brandon Ferris on YouTube, where he was moving out of his house and came across some pictures of his lovely little cat named Zelda, after the character, that had sadly run away. The little montage he did of his cat had all of us tearing up, and I decided that we should name this little girl Zelda after Brandon Ferris's cat, who was named after the video game character. She's settling in nicely, and so far she has been very curious and sweet and exploring and adventurous, and I love her so much already. She's so pretty. Oh, she's so cute. What might be the coolest trick these guys and many other geckos have tucked away is this. They have an amazing ability to stick to things with their toes without any type of adhesive substances or wee little suction cups, nothing. I actually have a video that covers this in detail from over a year ago, so please go and check it out if you want to know more. But in a nutshell, through a combination of molecular attraction and capillary action and a ton of surface area created by some weirdly hairy feet, crested geckos can stick to just about anything. See? Her tail caught her! Haha, and it didn't break off. Anyway, it's so cool, and our study and understanding of how this works has some really cool applications for us. That's all I'm gonna say here, but I encourage you to go and watch the gecko feet video. It was a ton of fun. Well, that's it for today. I hope you liked meeting the newest member to our little reptile family and enjoyed learning a bit about crested geckos. Night Monkey and Zelda would really like you to hit both the like button and the subscribe button. It really helps the channel out. Thank you again to my patrons for your wonderful support. I really do appreciate it. And thank you all for watching. Until next time, remember to nurture all nature. Bye! Guys, she's so cute. She's just on my thumb. Look at, she's so cute! Oh my goodness. She's so little. Alright. Well, that's it for today. I hope you liked meeting the newest member who— oh my goodness gracious me, why? Useless. It is exquisite.
Is it?
Exquisite is a word that needs to be used more often.
It is.
She's so chunky. She's got a little armpit fat.
She needs a diet.
She's on a diet.